Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS current affair analysis for 19th August 2020, and these are the articles we'll be dealing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Live Mint and it is titled "The Internet Could Regain the Openness Envisioned for It." So when the internet came into existence, it was supposed to be a democratic platform where anybody could enter the platform or take the stage and carry out trade. Now, with the advent of advanced high speed internets like, say, 4G and 5G, the e commerce platforms have taken the front seat and they are driving the market. Say, for example, you have Amazon, you have Google, you have Facebook, and you have Microsoft. So, all these are technocratic giants which are ruling the internet market. The way these platforms function is they have invested a lot of money in providing free services to the user. Say, for example, take the case of Facebook. Facebook happens to be one of the earliest social networking sites which have adopted newer innovations and acquired other technologies as well as it progressed. For example, take the case of WhatsApp, take the case of Instagram. Facebook has integrated these upcoming technologies, paying a whopping 19 billion for WhatsApp, and another acquisition it acquired even Instagram as well. So content is created by the user, and that is used by Facebook to become a marketplace which can influence people's ideas and thoughts. Similarly, we have Google, which is a search engine, and at the same time it has developed other products like email or a web browser in the form of Chrome. And today it has so much access to the data that it can literally design algorithms to manipulate the user. Similarly, when we're talking about e-commerce, we have Amazon. So Amazon has access to users data search, and it designs its algorithms in such a way that it creates specific ads for specific users and pushes sellers who post an advertisement or at least use Amazon's uh, premium services to promote their products. So what this actually does is the small sellers who cannot afford to compete with these giants are not in a position to ensure that their product gets proper visibility. So this has taken away the democratic medium. So if a product is not available today on Amazon, it is very difficult for that product to be recognized. So therefore sellers are willing to shell out more money, and that is reducing their margins. In a sort of a monopoly created by these e-commerce platforms and other technocratic giants, the traditional brick and mortar model is becoming economically unviable because of the high overheads involved. Like, say, for example, you have to pay rent for the shop, you have to pay salaries for your employees, etc. But if you're just opting for a e-commerce model, you just have to pay a small premium in the form of a fee, a capitation fee or a service fee for Amazon. That has become more and more complicated, and even the e-commerce sellers are finding it very difficult to have a bigger margin. It is in this context the article proposes a protocol which can decentralize e-commerce platforms, and where every player who believe that internet could be a democratic platform can come back to this platform and sell their produce. So what is this beacon protocol that this article is talking about? Let us have a look. So what is this beacon protocol that we are talking about? Basically, you can take the example of UPI. This is like a backend technology which will decentralize the internet platforms. So Nandan Nilekani, who was one of the ex board of members of Infosys and also the technological leader in the project of Aadhaar, he is now looking to replicate the success that we have had on UPI. He, along with some others, founded the Beacon in late 2019. It is more or less like a UPI with open specifications for mobility and commerce. So it is like a platform on which all the e-commerce players will have certain essential features. It will allow for interoperability, and for example, if a seller wants to sell across Amazon, Flipkart or any other e-commerce website, he would have to first register on this Beacon protocol platform. So this is a non-profit entity which develops open protocol specifications and enables their evolution while working with an ecosystem of participants. So this ecosystem of participants will involve civil society, it will also involve companies, it will also involve sellers, or ultimately it also brings customers onto this platform. So this is more or less like a democratic platform, much like what internet used to be like. One of the major problem of internet today is the inequality it is causing. Internet was supposed to be the tool through which we handle inequality, but it became the model for inequality, where the people who have access to technology and uh, internet connectivity are much more empowered than the people who do not have such kind of an access. Therefore, it is in this context that we have to explore this idea of Beacon protocol, a much needed platform. The first article for the day is taken from the Indian Express and it is titled RBI's Dilemma. Now, RBI has two broad policies. The first one is bringing out the monetary policy, and there is this monetary policy committee within the RBI and also has members from outside with a single mandate of targeting inflation. So monetary policy committee has a inflation target range of 2 to 6%. Now in the present pandemic times, if you take a look at the supply side of the economy and the demand side of the economy, both the sides have been very muted. Supply side constraints are there because there is not much demand and also because of the lockdown scenario. And secondly, there is no demand at all because there are job losses, wage growth has been stagnating. In fact, there are job cuts or salary cuts for a significant amount of population. So how do you ensure through monetary policy that lockdown situations can be handled, that is supply side constraints are handled? The only thing that RBI can do is ensure that credit offtake increases. What do you mean by credit offtake? If businesses take more and more amount of loans, they will create jobs and that will create more demand and the cycle continues. This is called credit offtake and it affects money multiplier. Now it is in this context you have to understand that despite this push by the government through the Atmanirbhar Bharat package and various measures taken by RBI, credit offtake has not really taken off. So the monetary policy committee, which is guided by the goal of maintaining inflation, is also finding it difficult because food prices are increasing non-stop. So here is the dilemma. At this juncture, should the monetary policy committee choose to drive growth or should it focus on short term inflation concerns? What should be the way forward for RBI? So this has exposed the limitation of central banking framework and the need to relook at it. The author of this article says that though this inflation is a temporary phenomena and though the supply side constraints that the government is trying to address and also the monetary policy rates that are being eased will cause short term inflation, it should not be a matter of concern. There are worries that the repo rate, which is very low right now, if it is further eased, it would lead to even more inflation in the short term. So this should not be a cause of concern because it will create demand. This demand will eventually create jobs in the longer run and that can be addressed in the longer run. So the focus of RBI should now be on credit offtake and ensuring that demand is generated in our economy. So from the government side, the government must do everything to increase the ease of doing business, ensuring that jobs are recreated and the stimulus for demand is created from the government side through putting money into the hands of the public. So whatever way, either through direct monetization of deficit, or ensuring that more and more number of jobs are created indirectly, anything will help to spike the demand. So the short term inflation concerns should not bother RBI in the longer run. So RBI is called the manager of the government debt. So to handle this, there were various measures, like say for example Operation Twist that happened, and RBI's interventions in the currency market, intervening in order to prevent the rupee from appreciating so that it becomes competitive in trade as well, has constrained its ability to carry out open market operations properly. So if we have to rephrase everything that I am saying, debt management functions have run up against its currency management function. So from quite a few years, RBI was requested to let go of its debt management functions, and there is a separate body which was envisaged by the government for debt management as well. So this is long due right now, and therefore we have to move in that direction. That is the gist of this article.